Moving on here a little bit, Greeny, if anyone follows you, they know from day one, the second this guy stepped on the court for the Celtics, you have been a Marcus Smart believer and defender.
It's true. I do it every day.
Loved and trust.
Every day
Love and trust.
You are attacking the haters and the losers, of which there are many, about Marcus Smart. He's top 10 in assists in the league, career best assist to turnover ratio, career best true shooting, effective field goal percentage, and assist percentage, back to his elite defense. So I just want to give you the floor for a minute and address how good it feels to have Marcus Smart just show you exactly what we all thought he could be.
Yeah, so I'd say it's probably like a top 5 achievement of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not even remotely joking. Like, I do think it's important, though, to understand, like, I'm not the only one who thinks this. There's plenty of us out there. I just think it's very important. You know, I've been blessed to have this, platform and this audience. And I think it's so prevalent for whether it's, the national media, you got 98.5, like there's so much out there from people with large audiences that speak to a certain narrative. It's just very important that we tell the truth of what also happens. Like, we're still hearing people say, Marcus doesn't know his role, or he shoots too much. It's like, these are arguments that haven't been accurate in like 5 years. So I just think it's very important that we tell the story of what he's actually doing on the floor.
Yeah.
It just so happens that what he's actually doing follows my agenda. And I just don't think it's an accident that at the same time he was given the keys and empowered by Brad to be the playmaking point guard that we knew he was, that we're seeing the best version of this team. Now, 85% of that has to do with the development of Tatum and Brown. I don't think anyone would debate that. But they do not reach their ceiling if they don't get this version of Marcus Smart. They didn't break through and make a finals until they got this version of Marcus Smart. So for him to now come back and back up what we saw over the last 5 months last season tells you not only is he accepting his role, not only is he, a leader and, the heart and soul, all that stuff that you can't quantify, there's now tangible evidence that supports this claim. So it's like, if you're someone that is having a Marcus Smart debate in 2022, it's just because it's a shtick for you, or you're unwilling to accept that you were wrong about the player. That doesn't mean he's perfect. That doesn't mean he's the same level as Tatum and Brown, but he is part of a big three, and they do not reach their potential, and they will not win the NBA Finals without this version of Marcus Smart. I don't understand how anyone could debate it.
That's the Oscar speech right there.
Clap. 4 hours if you want. It's like from his shot selection to, now he's a 40% 3-point shooter. It's just like if you could bring in the biggest Marcus Smart hater on the planet. If you told them to close their eyes and tell you, what do you want Marcus Smart to do on the basketball court? How do you want it to look? They would be describing what he's currently doing. And those same people will still, and it's just like, he wins Defensive Player of the Year, and the first thing that people do is say, oh, well, he wasn't even really the DPOY. It was really like, it's okay to give him credit and acknowledge what he's doing on the floor. It doesn't hurt. It's just like, just be normal about him. I don't understand why people just can't be normal with it.
And can I just say something about the DPOY conversation? It's one thing if you're like, I thought Draymond should have got it. I thought Bam should have got it. But to sit there and just act like Marcus Smart wasn't at least one of the reasonable choices for the award is crazy. I mean, it's Marcus Smart erasure, and I won't have it happen.
What bothers me about it is like the people who make that claim, again, as you guys can tell, there's a lot that bothers me about that.
Yeah, I love it so much.
The thing that bothers me about it is the people who say stuff like that don't really understand what makes the Celtics good in the first place. The reason the Celtics defense is elite isn't because they have Marcus Smart. It isn't because they have Robert Williams. It's how all the pieces work together as a unit that makes them the best defense in the league. The same way offensively, the Celtics aren't good because they only have Jason Tatum or they only have Jaylen Brown. It's how all the pieces work together that make them such a threat. So people are like, oh, how could Smart be the defensive player of the year when they have the 14th ranked defense without Robert Williams? Well, I don't know, because it doesn't boil down to one player, right? The fact that they have a league average defense without Robert Williams should tell you, hey, Smart's probably a pretty important piece to the formula. So it just bothers me when people make claims like that, but if you were then to ask them, okay, so when the Celtics have a good defensive game this year, whether Smart's playing or not, Rob's not in there. So The same logic that they want to use to discredit Smart's defense because Rob isn't playing, well then how are they able to have a game where they play good defense if Rob is still not playing? It just doesn't make sense, and it exposes them of they just have this blind hatred that I just cannot understand.
It's the blind hatred. They established their position 5 years ago, and they refused to move off their position. Because I think it's 5 years ago, there were a couple of criticisms that were fair. But now he's playing his role absolutely perfectly. And it's not a coincidence that as soon as Brad takes over, he's like, I'm done with these small point guards, who, by the way, aren't pure point guard playmakers either. Kemba and Kyrie are score first point guards, and their assists come off their scoring gravity. As soon as Brad takes over, he's like, I know Marcus Smart can be the point guard of this team. I'm empowering to be the point guard of this team. And it's not surprising. I've been saying it the whole time. He's going to continue to get better and better. As he got better and better throughout the season last year, once the Jays trusted that Marcus is going to make the right play and be the right point guard for this team, I'm not surprised that he's career best and everything again, because this is the second year of his career that he's been playing the point guard role.
I think the problem is people think if Marcus Smart takes a single shot in a fourth quarter, he's like the devil. And that's just to his benefit and sometimes to his detriment. He's a player who is not afraid of the moment. Right. He doesn't care about his percentages. We saw it a lot, everyone always talks about Game 7 against Miami, right? He almost shot them out of Game 7. Okay, whatever. But if you remember, in that Game 1 of the finals, when he came back in with 2 minutes and 40-something seconds left, with the score the same it was in that Game 7, right around 8 to 10 points with under 2 minutes left, he took and made those exact same late fourth quarter threes. You just have to understand that if he's open, your offense needs him to take that shot.
I don't understand how people can't understand that he's remember all of the big clutch shots that he's made throughout his Celtics career. Seeing him make those shots in the first half against Raptors reminded me of Game 2 against the Raptors in the bubble. He has big playoff games where he knocks down multiple threes. The conference finals with the IT year, he had, 7 for 9 from 3 in Game 2. It's the inverse of a Ben Simmons or even a PJ.
Well, that's the thing. It's a domino effect, right?
Exactly.
If you are someone that wants Tatum and Brown to be aggressive, to live in the paint, to get to the rim, well, a huge component of that is to have offensive gravity around them. So if Smart is just not going to shoot, defenses are going to sag off of him, right? It doesn't mean that he has to shoot the three every time, because as long as teams are going to start respecting his three-point shot, he'll be able to attack that closeout, get a paint touch, and drive and kick. But if teams know that he's not going to be a threat on the perimeter, then they're not going to attack his closeouts. They're not going to give space for Tatum and Brown to dribble and penetrate. So it's again, people who complain about it just feel like they're watching, but they're not.
They don't know ball.
But they're not understanding what they're watching. And that's just how they just expose themselves. That's really all there is to it.
Watch how other teams and the best teams in the league defend Marcus Smart. Yes, they sag off him a little bit, but he will punish you. Even if you give him that bit of space, he'll hit you with a pump fake and drive and make a play.
It doesn't matter what he does. People, they either want to, they willingly forget it, or they want to attribute the success to other, he could hit a game-winning shot and it would be oh, well, the real play was the pass I got on the ball. It's it's okay to say that he did something good the same way it's okay to say he did something bad. And I think that's what I never want to be someone that only talks about the good that he does, because there are going to be moments where he makes a mistake. He has a bad turnover or he takes a bad shot. He's human. There is no perfect NBA player. What I just can't stand is the people who just try to pretend like half of his game doesn't even exist. I refuse to allow it to happen.
Well, and how many guys in the league are straight up pure point guards averaging almost 8 assists a game, can make an open three? I mean, there's a reason Matisse Thybulle doesn't play, right? It's because exactly what we're describing here. He won't shoot. He can't shoot. Teams are playing 5-on-4 on defense because they just ignore him. And then on the other side of the ball, can switch 1 through 5 legitimately. Like, teams do not try to post up their center against Marcus Smart. Like, how many of those, there's like LeBron, I guess Giannis can't make an open three either, you know, Drew Holiday maybe. Like, there's a very, very small number of guys who can do the variety of things on both ends that Marcus Smart can. And I think, like, unless you're watching him every day, maybe you don't quite appreciate that. But the reason the Celtics can switch 1 through 5 in the way they do is because Rob is super versatile, Al is super versatile, and Marcus Smart is super versatile. And it's almost like people give Al and Rob all this credit and leave Smart out.
But what's crazy is his versatility isn't just on what he guards, but it's how he initiates offense, right?
Right.
How good does this offense look when he's operating out of the post, right? We've seen in Missoula ball, his post-up frequency go up. I think he's averaging like 7 post-ups a game, or his frequency went from like 4% to 7%.
7, yeah.
It's an automatic 2 points, whether he's going to find someone as a cutter or he's going to back you down and then lean over and turn with his right shoulder and have that little floater, you know, jumper, whatever you want to call it. So it's like he's putting himself in a position for higher efficiency looks if he decides to shoot it. Like, Trae Young's not backing anybody. It's really, so I looked it up. The only player that averages similar points per possession in post-ups while having a somewhat close frequency, so Smart's at 7%, it's Luka. So Smart is at like 1.61 points per possession. Luka's at 1.62, but he has a 15% post-up.
That's pretty insane from Luka, but that's crazy for Smart.
I mean,
like, you know, he's a big 6'6", he's a big dude. Smart, but it's the same idea where these guys are able to facilitate offense out of the post, which you're not seeing Ja do that. You're not seeing Steph do that. You're not seeing, you know, all these other high, you know, assist point guards. They don't have that offensive versatility. That's what makes Smart different, where like nobody would say, oh, he's as good a point guard as, you know, Luka or Morant. Right. But it's the fact that he allows Joe to have that versatility with different lineups that truly showcases his value and makes him a unique player.